Good morning, everyone. I am doing a simulcast with a radio show that I do every week, and I'm going to start recording that soon, so you'll see me looking kind of all over. And in the interest of time, which I am having decreasing amounts of lately, I am trying to multitask. So I'll be doing the radio recording and my YouTube channel broadcast about 30 minutes. And I hope you can kind of stick around. This is going to be broadcast tomorrow on 96.3 FM in the Tampa, Sun City area. So I will chat with you about that once we get recording. So here we go. Good morning, everyone. I'm Jaffe Jones. I'm the veg coach and the broccoli rep, because who else is? You are listening to Journey to Health and Living, and we're going to talk to you for the next 30 minutes, just picking my brain about the things that are current in ways you can figure out how to live until you're 2,000 years old. Okay, how about just 100? Will we take 100? All right. I am a certified personal trainer. I am a certified running coach. By the time you hear this, I hope to have placed in my 82nd 5K or longer race for my age group, which is 60 to 64. That's all I'm going to tell you. And I just had a professional photo shoot done for the first time like in 20 years, and people said on the pictures that I posted last night on Facebook until the wee hours of the morning, they were just like making me swear that I was really 30. Now, it was some of the photos were just a little bit Photoshop, but not all that much. So running and eating a plant-based diet are the best kept secrets in America, and I want you to, the next time you have to see a doctor, and I hope you never do, but if you do, I want you to ask him or her, how many nutrition classes exactly did you take in medical school? I'm guessing the answer was 0, because doctors, God love them. You know, my daughter was thinking about being one. And I have had some in my friends and family who have been doctors, and, you know, they really just give their lives to it, and I have loved them all dearly and appreciate the work they do. But they are trained in pills. They are trained in the devices and the gadgets and the surgeries. As I like to say in my book, Eat Vegan on $4 a day, because I am the author of this, and that's sort of my desk copy, which is well worn, and the pages are falling out, but I say, when you understand there's no money in broccoli, there's no corporation that makes it. There's no association, no broccoli lobby, no broccoli politicians, no broccoli corporation. When you understand that, then you understand why you have to be your own investigative reporter and figure out the truth about food. And you know, I was an investigative reporter for 18 years, 2 Emmys and the National Press Club Award, and because I saw my mom, aunt, and both sisters get breast cancer, figuring out the truth about food became the sort of sidebar investigative reporting job that I was doing all my life, ever since my aunt died of breast cancer in her home when I was 5 years old. So I've been very motivated, and it wasn't just breast cancer. They all had heart disease and diabetes and crippling arthritis, and poor Dad had a colostomy. He had diverticulitis, and it got out of control. And, you know, he was the only one who didn't have cancer in the family, but he had heart disease, which had its corollary, as it often does, diabetes, and that's actually what killed him. He had diabetic neuropathy, and even though he was a great tennis player until his 80s, he just had the kind of arthritis where his toes curled up, and, you know, we were all, as his daughters, amazed that he could even get up on the tennis court and play. So these diseases are often so preventable, especially heart disease, especially diabetes, those two in particular, and we even know now cancer. You know, I had doctors from an early age saying, you better do something differently with your life or you're going to end up like everybody else in your family. And I really took this to heart. And when you understand, as an investigative reporter, we are taught to follow the money. And boy, was I up for a rude awakening. Oh, my goodness. Just tracking the money and who pays for the research. And after I left my years in TV, I spent 5 years at Smith Barney, where I promoted socially responsible investing, which meant avoiding companies that tested on animals or sold tobacco products, you know, that kind of thing. And we brought Race to the Cure for St. Louis for the first time, and as a luncheon that we were involved with, it was a reward for the highest donors for the race. Smith Barney brought in the highest money managers from New York, and what were they talking about? The sectors they wanted these potentially high net worth investors, the qualified buyers, as we used to say. They wanted them to be investing in those companies that were working on the big C, the big cure. So what was that going to be? That was pharma. They brought in the pharma money managers. They brought in the device company money managers that were going to make all those devices to get you over your disease. And you know, I am not slamming the pharmaceutical industry. My non-vegan husband, who just had a heart attack on Halloween, his life has been saved by the drugs and by the doctors who are trained in drug management. But every single cardiac related doctor or nurse that came into the room and saw me, and of course I had my books, my 3 books, Eat Vegan on $4 a Day, Kitchen Divided, Vegan Dishes for Semi-Vegan Households, and then my 3rd book, Paleo Vegan, because paleo is really way more vegan, and was, back in prehistoric times, than it was meat-based. So I had all my books out on the food tray, and the doctors and nurses would look at it and they'd go, wow, you're way more qualified in nutrition than we are. Bring in your Vitamix. Make them whatever you want. Of course, that lasted for about 2 weeks until my husband could drive, and that's just a whole nother story. But you can bring a horse to water. You cannot make a drink, and that's why I do what I do, because I see how well it works. My cooking class, I taught cooking classes for Physicians Committee for Responsible Medicine for 6 years before my books came out, and they had a nonprofit within their nonprofit called the Cancer Project, and it was a really great training. It was free at the time, it isn't anymore, but just a fabulous organization of dedicated doctors and healthcare professionals who have risen up and said, hey, what we are doing is not working. And let's look at people like Ellen who are just like, oh, doing all these running races and are doing it well just on plants. So, you know, the training there was great, and I saw how well it worked, and there was this woman in my cooking class named Corky Carlson, and she is still talking to me on Facebook, but when she came to my class, oh, I don't know, 7, 8 years ago, they'd given her up for dead. She had been diagnosed with one of the more fatal forms of cancer called multiple myeloma, and she lost 120 pounds in 8 months without ever counting the calories. And God love her, she took a picture before and then one after. We took one actually of her after. And the local newspaper, the Anna Maria Island Sun, ran an article. If you go on my Ellen Jaffe Jones Facebook page or my Eat Vegan on $4 a Day page, you can find all of the details in the article that the Sun wrote about her. And oh, by the way, they had me do a vegan column for 4 years until they replaced me with a fishing column. Yes, it's called Real Time now. So, and the reason is because the advertisers kind of revolted, most of them being restaurants that serve fish, you know, big fishing community down in Anna Maria. So, you know, that's just a whole other story, and I've run up against the meat and dairy industry in all kinds of ways before, so no biggie there, because there are plenty of people who do want to hear this message. And fortunately, for things like venues and platforms like YouTube and podcasts and radio shows like this, we can get the message out there, and it's so important because it's one of the reasons I entered and, oh, by the way, won PETA's Sexiest Vegan Over 50 contest. For those of you who don't know, PETA, People for the Ethical Treatment of Animals, and some people hate PETA, some people love it. I really don't care. I just try and do what I can to help the animals, because anytime we can save an animal from ending up on our plate 3 times a day, it's all a good thing, not only for the animals, but also for our health and our energy. So I also wanted to mention, because time is running out as we listen to this show, I am speaking like probably right up the street from where you are hearing this at the library in Ruskin. And it is, I'll be talking about Eat Vegan on $4 a Day and a little bit of Paleo Vegan, but mostly how you can eat well, stay fit on a budget. And it is at the Ruskin Library, and the address there is 15816 Beth Shields Way, Ruskin, Florida, 33573. But here's the deal. You got to call to register. They already, this was as of, you'll be listening to this on Saturday, so I should say as of yesterday, Friday, they already had 100 people registered. Oh my goodness. So 813-260-3166. Let me repeat that again. 813-260-3166. So you got to register. Now, if you're internet or tech savvy, you can also email Silverback Peace Group at gmail.com. They are the folks who are generously paying for this show and generously helping me run all over the Tampa, Sarasota, St. Pete area to promote this message, since you won't likely get it from your doctor. Not that I'm a doctor, not that I'm a dietitian, although some people have said I know more than a lot more dietitians, but in Florida we have to be very careful not to cross that line. In my capacity as a certified personal trainer and a certified running coach, I can ask you for a 3-day food diary, but that's about the extent of it. I can't actually recommend a specific menu for you or diet plan other than to say, yeah, eat lots of plants, follow the main 4 food groups that Physicians Committee for Responsible Medicine recommends on their website. They have a great resource also called Nutrition Facts, I'm sorry, wrong website, nutritionmd.org. And go there and get, you can look up recipes, you can design your own menu plan. It will show you the nutrition facts, so it's a fabulous website put together by registered dietitians, and I refer all my clients there. By the way, I did do a little slip there. Nutritionfacts.org is another wonderful website with Dr. Michael Greger, and he just is a walking encyclopedia. As he puts it, I filter all the research for you so you don't have to. And he has some just great 2 to 3 minute videos on all kinds of topics, why you shouldn't be eating eggs or dairy, and just lots of great facts and science-based research that he is always talking about. So love, love, love his stuff. Be sure and check it out. So if you want to hear me live and in person, that's noon today, Saturday, January 24th. Noon at the Ruskin Library. That's actually the South Shore Library in the community room on Beth Shields Way. You got to call 813-260-3166. Now, there's always people who don't show up and register for these things, so they are taking registration over the room capacity. But they're going to be Silverback Peace Group, just an amazing couple actually that runs that group, and they always have yummy, yummy refreshments at these events. And they're also going to be just giving away some of my books there, which is really, really cool. They're just a really dynamic couple who, like so many of us, are committed in our own ways and try and do what we do best to help animals and help people save their lives. And all that I do, just so you understand this, is really a result of my payback for the vegan doctors who had the guts and the courage when I first started on this journey to say there must be a better way. I was having some medical issues. I almost died of a colon blockage when I was 28, and my OBGYN was very progressive, and he said, you might want to look at toning down the fat in your diet, and he was looking at the research, and he was telling me, plant-based may be a good thing to avoid, or to avoid the breast cancer that got my mom, aunt, and both sisters. We were actually part of the original breast cancer gene studies through Myriad Genetics, and I sometimes joke I come from the sickest family in America. So if you want to hear a little more about my story, I hope that you will come and join us at the Ruskin Library at noon today. I will be there. And I also, this just kind of gives you an insight into my energy level on this low energy plant-based diet. Oh my goodness. I'm doing a 5K at 7:30. The same day I'm giving a talk at noon. So I have plenty of time. The 5K is actually right off US 75, so once it's over, probably about 9 o'clock or 9:30 latest, if I have to stay around to get an age group award, which I may or may not. I don't always place in my age group, but I mainly do these races just to get exercise. It's sort of a forced way of keeping me motivated, whether or not I place, and I certainly don't always place. but I will zip up US 75 and probably pay a walk-in fee at some YMCA just to take a shower, just for the benefit of everybody, and head up to do the talk in Ruskin at noon. So it's only about an hour away, which where I live on Anna Maria, it takes about an hour to get anywhere, anytime this time of year. So the price we pay for living in paradise. Speaking of which, speaking of living in paradise, so there is this woman who is writing a book on, I believe the topic is, and she hasn't told me the name of the book yet, but I believe the topic is generally people who live in a family riddled with cancer like mine, and why, or presumptions on why I haven't got cancer. And did I get all the good genes? Oh, yes, probably. At least that's what my sisters have said back in the days when they were speaking to me. And, you know, it's so crazy, all of this vegan versus non-vegan stuff. It gets to be so cantankerous sometimes. You know, what's happened in my family is just kind of typical of what can happen when people do take, you know, becomes a political stand, really, not to eat animals 3 times a day, to connect with how food gets on your plate 3 times a day. And you only have to go as far as your closest YouTube channel to watch some of these videos. And that's especially the reason I think why so many kids today are going vegan, just because it's hard to stick your head in the sand and pretend that you do not see, because these videos are right up in your face about how animals are abused just to get milk. I mean, just Google the words factory farming or factory farms, and you will come up with a million, literally a million Google results on just pictures. And if some of those aren't enough to make you think about how food gets on your table 3 times a day, there are plenty of alternative milks. There are plenty of alternative plant-based ice creams out there. I do cooking classes, and just recently I saw at the store that donates food for my cooking classes. How wonderful is that? Thank you, Fresh Market. And they don't pay me anything. They just donate like a few bucks for food every week so I can do cooking classes. But they had quinoa milk. Quinoa milk. What are they doing? Squeezing those little quinoas? I mean, quinoa is technically seeds, so I guess it's not all that difficult to do before it's cooked. But just there are so many different alternatives out there, so there's no excuse to be drinking milk from another species. We do not need to do that. Milk drinking from a cow started about, 10,000 years ago. Probably somebody was wandering around on a desert, very thirsty, couldn't find water, and said, oh, I wonder what the liquid of that, the fluids, the excrement of that species is going to taste like. And really, that's what it is. It's meant for, mammalian milk is very species specific. And I know this because, in my usual fashion of just type A, going overboard, doctors said to me at that early age, you ought to like breastfeed your babies, because that's really preventative against breast cancer. We know there's some research coming in about that. That was back in like 1980. This was even before I had kids or was even thinking about getting married. And sure enough, not only did I do that, but I joined the breastfeeding information and support group called the Leche League, and became a leader for them for the state of Missouri. I was actually the associate coordinator of leader applicants, which meant I read every other leader applicant's application, what they had written about why they wanted to become a Leche League leader, and what their background was. So it was great fun. Oh my goodness. But the thing is, why breastfeeding is so, relatively speaking, unsuccessful in our culture, especially Western cultures, because we don't get to see other mothers doing it, unlike in the natural animal kingdom. Funny story, when I lived in St. Louis as a TV reporter, we covered a big story at the time, Raja, the poor baby elephant whose mother rejected him because she had never seen another mother in captivity in a zoo, the St. Louis Zoo, very famous, very popular. She'd never seen another mother breastfeeding, so she didn't know what to do. They had to call in lactation consultants, and finally, after 3 days, poor mama put it together and figured out how to breastfeed her baby, and Raja thrived. But that's the thing. We are, again, and that's where I got this idea, there's no money in broccoli. I read a great book called The Politics of Breastfeeding, and it talked about how there are no corporations that make breast milk. There's no breast milk association, breast milk lobby. And when you understand that, again, you have to do your own homework about this. And it gets to be so crazy sometimes trying to weed through all of the noise out there and figure out what is the truth about food. But in my capacity as a Leche League leader, I saw research. We got this it was way before email, but we got a publication called Breastfeeding Abstracts, which the Leche League put out, and it was every week all the research, anything that had to do with breast milk. It was all boiled down right there. And one of the more amazing pieces of research that I read during that time was that breast milk is not only preventative against breast cancer in the mother, but in female offspring, in our daughters. How many people have heard that information? And if you did, would you make an effort, if you had it to do over again, if you thought you could help inoculate your daughter against breast cancer? And go figure. I had 3 daughters, and one of them finally just gave up smoking. I know she will never hear this broadcast or probably see it, or nobody will know who she is because her last name is different. But she was a National Merit semifinalist, and the cigarette companies got into the music. She's now a gifted artist, and she was also very talented musically. But these cigarette companies got into the concert halls or the venues where she was listening to music and gave out free cigarettes when she was not hardly even a teenager and into really rebelling and all that kind of stuff, as some of us tend to do. And now it's illegal for cigarette companies to do that. And I really hope that that kind of thing happens with the food corporations, because we are seeing some very similar behavior in keeping people addicted to food, especially dairy products. But not only just dairy, the food. There are tons of books that you can read out there that talk about how the corporations do a lot of research and figure out how to keep us addicted to certain kinds of unhealthy food. So I do hope you will leave your mind open to reading some of these books and consider a plant-based diet, because it really does amazing things. The best kept secret in America, although there are some of us out there who are trying to break it out of break it into the mainstream. And in addition to the what I hope will be 82 5K races that I will have placed in by the time you are listening to this, which is why I'm recording the radio show in advance, so I can do the race and then speak up at the Ruskin Library, which I hope you will come to. But I am also 7th in the U.S. in the 1,500 meters for the women's 60 to 64 age group, placed in the National Senior Games a couple of years ago. And I'm 10th in the 400 and 16th in the 200 and 19th in the 100. A little slower on those super sprinty ones, although the National Senior Games only happens every 2 years. So I competed first at the local level and then at the state level each year to qualify to go to nationals. And so that 2-year cycle is coming up again, and so I had to compete at some point last year, and I did that in December and got first. See all those golds there? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I am, if you're wondering why I'm seeing that on the radio, is because I'm also recording this for my little baby YouTube channel as well. So those 6 gold medals, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, in the state Florida Senior Games. So I got first in the 50 meters, first in the 100, 200, 400, 800, and 1,500 meters. So all of that qualifies me to compete in nationals again next summer in Minneapolis. Could you guys put this thing closer to Florida? I'm just saying, although I know the further south you get in the summer, it's not so pleasant. Cleveland 2 years ago was very lovely, and I'm sure Minneapolis will be very lovely. I am just not sure I have $3,000 to fly myself and stay in Minneapolis for a week, because that's what it takes, especially if you have to, and you do calculate a rain day. All these events are outside and usually at lovely tracks, and they're very fun, and I love doing it. And I've also been quite amazed at how many people, I always wear a bright vegan t-shirt, and people will come up to me and go, yeah, I'm vegan too. In fact, I met this really amazing woman, Jean DePrano, in Cleveland 2 years ago, and so the first night I'm there, I walk in with my bright vegan t-shirt, and she goes, sit down. I'm going, oh, okay, what's this about? She says, you're probably going to want to come back to my dorm room, because we stay in dorms, after this is over. She says, when I come to these games, I bring an empty suitcase, and then the first thing I do is I go to the nearest grocery store, usually walk to it, and fill up the suitcase with raw foods and bring it back to my room, dehydrate, and make a lot of great smoothies and green drinks and all that. So sure enough, that is exactly what we did. And while we're sitting there talking, like, she's so modest, and she says, "Oh, by the way, look at this," and she gives me the magazine called Masters Track and Field, and she's on the friggin' cover of this magazine 2 years ago, or 2.5 years ago, and the cover story is Jean DePrano, a I think it was sub 8-minute mile at 75. So maybe it was sub 7. I don't know. I get my since I'm not a mile sprinter, those numbers aren't totally in my head, except that I know I can do a low 8-minute mile if I train and work up to it. But it really does take quite a bit of training to be able to place in the state, at the state level as well as the national level. But turns out, she's this amazing sprinter at 75 now. I think she's like probably 77, and clocking in the time. So these are the kind of role models I have, and I hope that you will consider this as you begin your journey. And some people say, well, it's too late to go vegan. No, there's a book actually by this name. It's never too late to go vegan. And I really would encourage you to consider that and understand that there is a lot you can change. In fact, there are videos on YouTube, like within minutes after eating a burger, a high-fat burger, they do blood tests, and you can see that before eating, the blood was very red and healthy looking, and then after eating the high-fat burger, it's like sort of this cloudy yellow color. So it is instant, and it's the cumulative effect of eating high-fat diets, especially the bad kinds of fats, that can really become problematic. So if you can morph a little bit to a plant-based diet, it's all a good thing, and I hope you will consider just being around for the grandkids, as Bill Clinton used to say. And there are just so many different ways you can view this, and people often become vegan out of animal rights concerns, and often if that is their priority, they tend to stay vegan longer than if they're just in it for the health. However, there are people like me who, for me, my visual is my sister right before she went in for bypass surgery, having her chest cracked open for heart bypass surgery. My visual is my other sister who didn't have heart disease at that point, having chemotherapy. And back in the days when she first got it, about the same year that I almost died of my colon blockage, and then changed my diet, and within months, the whole fiber thing, the light went off, and they had told me in the emergency room I would need to be on medicine the rest of my life. And never happened. Never needed all those drugs that they were wanting me to take at the age of 28. But, this really does work. And I think that if you figure out what's right for you, I always say blood tests never lie. So if you have some concerns, certainly address that with your doctor. But I have kept track of my annual physical blood work that's been done almost every year. I've kind of backed off in the last few years because the doctors say, you don't need a colonoscopy. You're getting 60 grams of fiber a day, so get out of here. That kind of thing. I just think that there is so much we can change, so much we can affect by changing our diet. So, if you have those powerful visuals, whether it's the animals being abused, and there are plenty of those online and in the great movies out there, Earthlings, Farm Inc. I mean, there are just so many of them. So those are the ones, for animal rights, and there are just tons of them out there. So you can go on the Silverback Peace Group website, which graciously paid for this program, and they've got lots of resources. You have go on pcrm.org and look at all the resources they have. Forks Over Knives, if you want a little health motivation. A lot of people see that movie or read the book. also the China study, and these are really life-altering kinds of things that will change you forever. So we are wrapping it up. I hope you will join us at the Silverback Peace Group's event today at noon at the Ruskin Library. They have been publicizing it a lot, so make sure if you are going to go, you can give a quick call to 813-260-3166 to register, or the Silverback Peace Group at gmail.com. That would be awesome. I am also available for personal training, and if you're trying to do a Couch to 5K program, or you just want to design a walking program that's good for you if you're not into the whole running thing, I incorporate that too, because as a certified personal trainer I can work on your total program, not just the running, walking, aerobic part of it. It's all good. So you can contact me through vegcoach.com or many of my Facebook pages, the most popular one, Eat Vegan on $4 a Day, or Ellen Jaffe Jones, personal trainer and author. So that is it for today. Thank you again, Silverback Peace Group, for your great support in underwriting this program. I'm Ellen Jaffe Jones, the Veg Coach and the Broccoli Rep, because who else is? Gotta run.